Hey everybody, welcome back. Day 2 or the following days of tuning Victor on a remote tune. So basically I have another video that I did and it's trying to explain or show you guys what my process is when it comes to remote tuning or e-tuning. And I am working with Victor, who's currently in New Mexico. And if you want to check out my first video to get an idea of where we are. So basically, I sent him the base map. We went over some things. He explained to me, actually video showed me how his wastegate was plugged. And I told him we need to change that, but don't worry about that for now because we're gonna just do the scaling and whatnot. So basically, in this video, I'm gonna show you how he was logging. He sent it back. We went back and forth a couple of times. And we got the injector scaled, and it's pretty good. It's very close to zero trim. He does have a aftermarket front O2, which basically means anytime it doesn't have a built-in heater. The stock O2 does have a built-in heater, so it heats up right away. And when you're on open closed loop fuel trims, it basically operates perfectly and very responses very fast. With these aftermarket O2 sensors, the ones that are below $100, just keep in mind the stock one is like 300 something. The aftermarket O2 sensor does not have built-in heaters, so at least the ones that I have seen. So what ends up happening is, say you're driving around, you're fine when everything is warm, but you tend to be a little rich, or it doesn't give you the right fuel trims when it's cold. So after you drive it, everything will be fine. It'll go through, say some cycles for the fuel trims. It'll read perfectly. But then when you stop and you idle for too long, the exhaust gas starts lowering itself in temperature. It will kind of mess up your fuel trims. But we know that. But even with all the challenges of that, we've got them pretty solid, the fuel trims. And then when I was confident that everything was good, I asked him to do wide open throttles, but only up to 5,000 RPMs, which I know with this large turbo, it's really just gonna start to spool. I want to see his wastegate pressure and all that stuff. So a little weird thing, I've never seen this before, and I'm sorry, Vic, I'm gonna put you out there. I explained to him what the wastegate control I want, how I want it plumbed. Basically, your wastegate has two nipples, one on top, one on the bottom. And typically I start with connecting the one on the bottom to your boost controller, and the boost source, which in this case is that little nipple on your turbo, going to the boost controller as well. So when it does see the boost that I want, it basically lets the vacuum bleed into the wastegate on the bottom. So you literally control whatever spring is in there, and the maximum you can reach is possibly double the spring rate, or if everything goes well. He had it set up where he's using both top and bottom, but he did this weird thing where he used one of the because he has two, one of the wastegates to feed the other one. To basically share the vacuum or the boost that it sees, but it doesn't work that way because your wastegates will only see boost or vacuum or whatever when the boost controller is allowing it to see it. And I've never seen it done this way. There was some confusion. I asked him to make some videos, and then we corrected it. So I'm going to show you that in this video exactly what he did. And I'm sorry again, Vic, for putting you out there. So this video, basically the second step right before we really do wide open throttle, every issue that we came with, how we handled it, and what exactly he did.
Alright, so this is a cold start after 2 days of reloading the new ROM that he sent me the other day. As you can tell, it's pretty steady, started up pretty quick, no issues so far. AFRs are slowly climbing up like they should, maintaining a good rich AFR while the engine is cold to be able to stabilize and get to a warming temp. So far so good. In the past, on version 7, I normally would experience a stumble. It's pretty well reported. If you go on the forums, you can read about it. It normally will hunt in RPM. Sometimes it'll stumble and die. Sometimes it'll catch itself. And then once it gets to a certain temperature, it will start to settle out and then maintain idle and be fine. So I'm pretty excited that after 2 days of the car not starting, a true cold start, and it hasn't done that right now. According to the log, we're quickly climbing on the coolant temp. Right now we're at 91. And then just to give you a heads up on what my fuel pressure is looking like when the car is running. With the vacuum line disconnected, it's at about 43, 44 PSI. Alright guys, this is the first drive with the BD tune on it. Sorry if you guys can't hear me too well, the car is kind of loud. We're just going to go ahead and do a small drive, nothing too crazy, just to kind of figure out the trims. So what we're going to look for is fuel trim and see if they're too far off, so that way you can make some more adjustments if needed. So we're just going to go ahead and find I haven't driven this guy in a while. We're just going to try to find a nice flat road to leave it in third and log that for about 30 seconds or so. And then he requested that I do an idle for 30 seconds as well afterwards. So, you guys are going to take the trip. Alright, so what he wants is 3,000 RPMs. That's steady boot or steady RPM on a flat road. I'm going to try to find a more decently flat road. Pretty hard around here to get. But there should be some down this way. So just hang on tight.
So what's happening here is very, very common. And those of you who are tuning yourselves or other tuners who are watching this, you'll know that this is classic when the person you're tuning thinks it's been 15-20 minutes of driving and the fuel trims are set in, and this is not the case. This is way too early. You know, it's at least 20 minutes on Evo 8s and 9s that you have to drive after you reset fuel trims. And you know, some cars even take longer. I don't know exactly what it is. I think you have to trigger certain driving conditions in order for it to calculate all that stuff. But this is not at all, he hasn't driven enough in order for the fuel trims to come in, as you will see from the logs. So after that log that he did, this is what he sent me. As you can see, fuel trims, what I had him log is fuel trim, low, high, mid, you know, all of them. And there's no fuel trims. Even on the idle one, there's nothing. So this typically happens, other than that you set up the ROM incorrectly, which I haven't because you didn't drive enough. So when he sent me this, Vic didn't check if the fuel trims were in, which I instructed him to do. You know, sometimes it feels like 15-20 minutes, but it's actually not. You should be driving 30 minutes to be precise. But I like to do 20 minutes because I know the fuel trims will change on the next one. I do additional things as well to kind of help figure out exactly where the trims are. But for this instance, the fuel trim didn't come in. He needed to drive even more. All right, so this is day 2, attempt number 2 in the cruise and idle tuning. And this time I'm sure he will check if the fuel trims did come in or not. And we're gonna take a look at what that looks like. To reiterate, what I asked him to do is drive for 20 to 30 minutes and wait till the fuel trims come in. If you drive for an hour, it'll go through a few cycles of it's probably going to be even better a reading for your tuner. And after that, you basically need to do a cruise, start the log, and do it for 30 seconds to a minute, and then close log, save, pull over somewhere while the car is hot, let it idle for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, start your log again, and log that idle state for about another 30 seconds to a minute. Once you have done that, then send me or your tuner the log. But your tuner should give you clear instructions on what to log and exactly how to log them and exactly what state to log it in. So this is cruise number 2, second attempt, and as you can see, the RPMs are at 3,000 like I asked him to do. This is the RPM, and it looks like he's running rich, which was intentional. Fuel trim in use is exactly what is being used right now, and the fuel trim type he's in is in fuel trim mid. I kind of use the airflow hertz to see which where he's at. That's the trigger to go into mid, low, high fuel trims. So that's something you guys got to pay attention to with large cams. You got to adjust the different trim settings that is triggered by airflow hertz in the Tephra V7 ROM. So he's doing good. His low is good, and we just need to work on the cruise, which was made intentionally rich because this is basically controlled by your fuel scaling directly, and the fuel trim low is controlled by your battery latency for your injectors, more so than the scaling itself. So let's take a look at the idle. Yep, this, he's idling after the cruise. Looks to be what we are expecting. Okay, so now I took this data and basically changed the scaling for the second cruise, or the third set of logging. And on the third set, I kind of asked him to do a little bit of wide open throttle, only up to maybe 5,000 RPMs. And the reason why I did that is because I can actually check if my scaling itself is close enough that it's following the fuel map itself, how closely it follows. That's something I would urge people who, those of you that are not well versed in tuning, to do. Just stick to the scaling of injector using the typical scaling method, which is changing the injector flow and modifying the latency to get your fuel trims under the trim. I do have another video out that actually shows you how to scale your injectors, so make sure you check that out and Google it. There's plenty of write-ups on it.
Down a little bit. Alright guys, so here I am about to start my third gear 3000 RPM log.
So after a couple of cruise and idle logs, light wide open throttles, we are, getting close. Fuel trims are, finally in. I'm going to show you what this particular log session, I think, which is number 4, produced. So after going back and forth, this is what we ended up with. This is the, what is this? The RPM. Okay, so this is cruise. He's doing close to 0 fuel trims on cruise, and then on idle he is doing -2, which I mentioned before. His idling, the front O2 is not OEM, so it cools down, but we're gonna continue to work on this as we move forward to doing wide open throttles. I actually had him do a little bit of wide open throttle, nothing crazy. I just wanted to check his wastegate and everything because it came with 20 pounds, and then he said he switched it to 18, so I had him do a little bit of wide open throttle. So as you can see from TPS reading, he goes wide open throttle around 3000 RPM. He does have a 6466, and this is his wideband reading. So by the time, and this is what I put on E85 or whatever, E70. This is the exact AFR that I'm looking for. Maybe a little bit richer, maybe like 13, but it's pretty close. So by the time he does get into boost, which is past 20, it does start to richen up, and he's exactly where he's supposed to be on this particular kind of fuel. So I'm happy with that. But the issue here is he's on 24 pounds, and he's getting directly boost from the signal from the turbo. So as I'll show you right now, he had the wastegate plumbed kind of weird, but we fixed that, and he was still hitting 24 pounds. So let's take a look at how he had his wastegate set up before and how I advised him to change it and what we did at the end.
Alright guys, welcome back. So after a few more logs that we ended up doing with this one, came across that sounds like my wastegates are set up incorrectly. So if you can see here, I have a twin scroll setup, meaning dual wastegates. So the way he had explained to me to set this up is to be able to send the boost signal to, or the boost source to the grim speed, and then coming out of port 2, I believe, goes to the bottom of the wastegate. So I had read somewhere that you can piggyback these two and it should be able to work. But I believe I have 17-pound springs in these guys, and with 0 wastegate in the tune itself, so pretty much just going off of spring pressure, we're seeing about 25 psi. So I'm going to redo the plumbing a little bit based off of what BD wanted me to do. So we're going to go ahead and try that out. He sent me a new revision. I loaded up the new revision. So tomorrow we'll take this one back out and see where the boost is at. Hopefully we should be seeing somewhere around 18-ish psi, 18 maybe 19-ish, depending on how it circulates. So essentially what we're looking to do is split this guy here. So I'll probably tee it off down here and then run it from here to there on a T, and then cap this guy off. So I'm gonna get started on that, and I'll get back to you guys once I'm done. Alright guys, so I just wanted to show you guys real quick. Wastegates, or at least this kit, came with these caps right here. In fact, there's one right here. And it also comes with the nipple barb here for your hoses. So I'm just removing the one that I had here, sending the signal over to the second wastegate. The hose is going to be teed into the other source directly coming from the grim speed itself. So I'm just going to put this guy back in here. We'll tighten this thing down, and I'll go grab the T and then pick a good spot to kind of tee it into, and then that should be it. So I just got done replumbing the wastegate. it should be good. Hopefully it'll work well tomorrow. If my memory serves me correct, I believe I installed 2 black springs and blue, I believe, which makes them about 17, 18 PSI a piece. So hopefully that is what we're seeing tomorrow once we test this thing again. It is going to be slightly colder. I did get an alert on my phone saying it's going to be about 35 degrees out, so I'm sure that'll alter the boost pressure a little bit as well. But just to show you guys what we did. Alright, so let's see if you guys can see that here. Alright, I installed a little T right there. So that line at the bottom of the T is coming directly from the grin speed, which is from port number 2, and then it tees off from there, going to the other wastegate, same spot as it was before. Essentially it was pretty much connected the same way, but this way we know that the grin speed itself should be controlling both wastegates instead of relying on the internals of this wastegate to feed that wastegate. So hopefully it works out well tomorrow. We see about 18 or so PSI, and we can continue our tuning and documenting everything for you guys. I'm just going to go ahead and put everything back together, put the intake back on, clean up my area, and call it a night.
So this was the wastegate settings that we were trying to test everything on. As you can see, the wastegate duty cycle is zeroed out, the desired boost is zeroed out, there is an atmospheric compensation, also the wastegate correction for TPS, the boost error correction, and the Tephra mod where it allows you to have 100% duty cycle under until you see the certain resistors. They're all zeroed out. There's absolutely no reason why this car should be boosting 24, 25 based on the tune at least. The wastegate plumbing was also corrected, but it's better than before, but it's still not doing it. So Vic actually called the manufacturer of the kit, and basically they said that, well, this does happen to us. You might want to put a lot smaller spring. Typically with, I use Morrison fabrication for my turbo kits, but other times when I've used the off-the-shelf ones, this didn't happen. The smaller turbos, anything below like a 70 millimeter, kind of on a twin wastegate system, a T4 system, or even a T3 or V band, kind of held the boost, kind of maybe 1 or 2 psi above spring. But they're saying, there's the wastegate efficiency, the way everything flows, a combination of everything is not able to control the boost as efficiently or tight as you would hope. So lower the wastegate. So basically that's what we're gonna do. He's putting a 15-pound spring for now, and then if that doesn't work, we're gonna do 13 or 12. This is a stock block, so I do not want to cross 24 or 25 psi on E85, and then maybe 22 psi on 93 or 91, whatever he has. So that's where we are when it comes to e-tuning. Again, this is a process. Keep following this series if you're really curious about how I do e-tuning and what to expect when you go to other tuners or whatnot. Everybody has a different procedure, but it's pretty much the same. It's the logging. And as I'm going through the logs, I'm kind of explaining what I'm doing, and I'm hoping that it helps some people. So keep watching, and please subscribe and leave me some comments. Keep sending me those questions. I have stopped answering them on videos because I think this video answers a lot of the questions that I typically get asked, these series of e-tuning. So it's kind of helping that. But yeah, keep sending me these questions and send them to my email, YouTube at bdalchemist.com, and please make sure that you tell me if you want me to air your questions or not. And that's it. Thank you guys for all the love. I'm getting really interesting feedback on what I'm saying. So I'm really enjoying it. Thank you guys so much.